So on the topic of onboarding, so now you've landed that wonderful employee and they're happy with comp and everything else. Things are moving quickly and you don't have a lot of access to resources. How do you get people up to speed quickly and make sure that they're successful once they come on board? Any takers? Rebecca, you want to go first?
Sure. I mean, we're fortunate that, there's not a lot of startup companies that bring on an HR person really early, but I think if you do have someone who's in the role of HR, they can do a lot of this for you. They can do a lot of the coordinating of, somebody coming on board and what they need to know and getting a sort of onboarding plan together. I'm also very fortunate because I have brilliant managers that work with me that when it comes to us sitting down and saying, okay, what does this person's, plan look like for the next, 3 months? Like, what do we need? They're really good at making that plan and looping back with that person and saying, hey, is there anything that you didn't, something that we missed, something that we could have done better? What do we do really great so that we know for next time how we can build upon that or maybe make some improvements? But I think one of the things that I always hear, and a lot of you are probably familiar, is when you get into a larger organization and you talk about, HR orientation, people are just like, oh God, like that's like a day-long process, and then I have to sit in computer training for the next 2 weeks, and then they're just like, oh my God, I thought I joined a startup, right? So I think it's important, again, to stay true to who you are, and like, you hired someone because they're brilliant. They've probably used a computer before. You probably don't need to read them all the policies. Just send them the link and let them read it themselves. So I think it's really focusing on what it is that they need to know, what's the critical information that they need to know in their first day, because they're probably going to forget half of it or 3/4 of it. Give them something that they can look back afterwards and say, yeah, that's what I'm supposed to do next, because otherwise it just gets lost. So for us, having a good onboarding strategy is really staying true to who we are, and getting people up and running as fast as they can. There's nothing worse than coming home from your first day of your job and saying, well, I read policies all day. Oh, well, I'm so glad that we pay you so much money to read policies. And so for us, we have very few policies, but just getting on board with, our systems and that kind of thing. We have, we just basically made a list of all the things that, somebody in that role coming on board, what they need to know in their first day, their first week, their first month, their first 3 months, and what we want to see, and how do we help them get there, and then looking back afterwards and saying, what did we do right, what did we do wrong? Okay, let's redo this for the next time. So
good. Natalie, anything to add?
Yeah, as far as onboarding goes, I would say 2 things that we try to do is be prepared for the new hires coming on. Something as simple as having their desk set up, a notebook, a pen, maybe even a card on their desk saying, welcome to the team, Timbit. Something that makes them feel special that day goes a long way. That first day is the first impression, and it can be very important. So be prepared and, be on time for their first day, and be excited. And make sure the staff's excited that they're there as well. So we always do a big welcome email to everybody in the organization that this person has joined our team, and to come down and say hi, grab a Timbit. We also take them out for lunch, and then we also introduce them at the company meeting and get them to stand up and say something about themselves. So we're excited to have them on our team, and I think that goes a long way. I've definitely myself experienced a really bad orientation where I experienced what Rebecca said. It was about a day of HR and health and safety. Nobody talked to me. It was dark. It was gray. And then I had an orientation at a smaller venture capital firm here in town, and there was flowers on my desk when I got there. They took me out for a great lunch, and I will never forget that. So I think it can go a long way if you act prepared and excited the first day they get there, because it took a lot to get that person on board, all the hiring and recruiting, and so be excited that you're going to have this new person, and they'll remember that and take it forth as they continue their career with you guys.
Yeah, I definitely agree. We do something very similar in terms of onboarding people, and when people leave at the end of the day and they feel motivated and gung-ho to start the next day, or it's not 5 o'clock and they're ready to run out the door, instead they're like, what else can I do, or who else can I meet? It's really important. And they go home and they tell their friends and they tell their family about how great their first day was and how great their onboarding experience was, that, oh my God, it was so much different than when I started at that company, and I just feel so great. And it really does sort of reaffirm their decision to join you. And if you are totally contradictory to what you said you were, they join and they're thinking, oh my gosh, did I just make the biggest mistake of my life? So, onboarding, onboarding, maybe not the biggest mistake of their life, but a significant one. When people change jobs, it's a big decision. So for us, it's it's the same thing, making sure that everything is ready. And it's so funny how having their desk ready is so important, and just making sure that they have a laptop and they're not like, oh, I got here and you don't have a laptop for me. Okay. Oh, I don't have a password to my computer. I can't actually get to do anything that you'd like me to do. So we make sure that we, in addition to like the package that we give them, the welcome package, those things are set up. And excellent.
Yeah, it's just the detail stuff. They say love's in the details, so it's just some of those details. Then you can go a long way with some little things.
Allie, what do you guys do? Do you do anything different to show the love?
We do all those things that they told us not to do. So we never have a laptop set up. Their password isn't ready. This is our standard MO. We're so tired after recruiting them. We're just like, oh, God. No. Yeah, no, I mean, I think we've all experienced that time when you start at a job and the stuff isn't ready and your computer isn't ready and there's no password. But I think, for a startup, it's hard to get to the point where you have onboarding checklists and all that stuff. And I think that's a role for maybe a segue for the possibility for good software maybe to manage some of that of being able to do that. Yeah.
Boom, boom.